Coming up on the program, Facebook whistleblower Frances Haugen appears before the U.S. Senate to testify against her former employee. Shukuro Manabe, Klaus Hasselmann and Giorgio Parisi win the 2021 Nobel Prize for Physics. And the Taliban says it will be issuing new passports soon. A warm welcome to our viewers here in Nigeria and around the world. I'm Amarachi Ubani. We begin in the United States today, in the Senate exactly, where Facebook whistleblower Frances Haugen is testifying that her former employer was aware of the harm the social media networking site causes to young people, but did nothing to mitigate the concerns. Chairing the Senate's Protection Subcommittee is Senator Richard Blumenthal, who thinks Ms. Haugen is courageous in coming forward against Facebook. Haugen, in her opening statement, says she joined Facebook because of its potential to bring out the best in us, but that she was in Senate because she believed that Facebook's products harm children, stoke division, weaken democracy, and much more. Haugen was lead product manager for Facebook's civic misinformation team and worked later on counter-espionage. Before her stay at Facebook, she had worked with Google, Pinterest, and Yelp. Our correspondent Maria Bird is monitoring from Washington. Maria, what has Frances told the Senate subcommittee today?
She has provided the Senate with information and details relative to exactly what has been occurring over the last few years. She's provided them with some detailed documents. She's provided them with information that's leading to potential drug cartels, along with potentially leading them to information regarding human trafficking. It is extremely unclear yet how the Senate will use this information, because obviously this has become a major story, especially as a result of the shutdown of Facebook yesterday. She's also leading many of these information toward the mental health of young women, looking at the suicide rate of young women, especially teen girls, as a result of some of what occurs within the Facebook communities.
Facebook did come under a huge backlash after the election that brought Donald Trump into office, and here they are again, at the receiving end of this stick for almost the same issues. But the Senate committee already seems biased towards Facebook. Remember the hours they spent with Mark Zuckerberg back then, going through different issues. Focusing on the elections and all that. So what is the point of this hearing?
The real point of this hearing is, obviously, when you talk about people potentially losing lives as a result of social media platforms, that has been always put all the attention of the government. And so the allegations that she has brought forth are ones that are going to require Facebook to have some answers. And so we're looking, I think, now at what potentially maybe see another slap on the wrist, but there's still hope that there will be some changes in what we're calling the algorithms, in which Facebook is able to ensure safety and security for young people.
And has Facebook responded to the claims that she has made?
Facebook has come out, but again, focusing most of their claims on the fact that they are addressing and obviously they don't support any type of human trafficking, nor do they support any type of drug carteling and those sort of activities within the site. But to come out and specifically address as a whole, I think that we'll probably begin to see over the coming weeks, begins to conclude, you'll begin to see some sort of communication coming out and potentially seeing another visit from Mark Zuckerberg.
And will he be expected at the Senate again after the committee is done with Frances Haugen?
It will depend on what the committee's findings are, and if they're going to potentially bring any legal that will be the real question, is whether or not he will end up with any legal ramifications as a result.
Maria, thanks again for joining us, and we do apologize for the disruptions in the audio and the video with Maria. And yesterday was a dark one for many social media users, either on Facebook, on Instagram, or even WhatsApp. And that's because services went down for almost 6 hours, impacting more than 3.5 billion users worldwide. Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg explained the problem could be traced to an internal technical issue. For hours, potentially billions of people found themselves without the social media tools they relied upon to keep in touch with friends and family. Others reportedly found they could not access services which required a Facebook login. Meanwhile, businesses around the world which use social media to connect with customers were faced with the prospect of an unexpected financial hit. Zuckerberg himself was thought to have lost an estimated $6 billion excuse me, from his personal fortune at one point as Facebook shares plummeted, according to the business website's fortunes tracking software. Services were eventually restored just before 10 p.m. The outage was the second blow to the social media giant following the whistleblower on Sunday, accusing the company of repeatedly prioritizing profit over clamping down on hate speech and misinformation. We turn to other issues. Now, an investigation into the Catholic Church reportedly reveals an estimated 216,000 children were victims of abuse by clergy since 1950. The revelations in France are the latest to rock the Roman Catholic Church after a series of sexual abuse scandals around the world often involving children over the past 20 years. President of the Independent Commission on Sexual Abuse in the Church, Jean-Marc Suave, during a public online presentation of the report, said the abuse was systemic, adding that the church had shown deep, total, and even cruel indifference for years, protecting itself rather than the victims. Adding that the church had shown, rather than the victims, beg your pardon, the church, he says, not only did not take the necessary measures to prevent abuse, but also turned a blind eye, failing to report abuse and sometimes knowingly putting children in touch with predators. The commission was established by Catholic bishops in France at the end of 2018 to shed light on abuse and restore public confidence in the church at a time of dwindling congregations that has worked independently from the church. A French bishop has asked for forgiveness from victims of sexual abuse by church members today, following the release of that report that found French clergy sexually abused more than 200,000 children over the past 70 years. Eric de Moulin-Buffraud told journalists that he tells victims he's sorry and asked forgiveness, and they were working further so that apologies come from the church as a whole. Revelations in France are the latest to rock the Roman Catholic Church following a series of sexual abuse scandals around the world, often involving children. Adding his voice to the mix is the Pope Francis. The Vatican released a statement saying the Pope received with sorrow a content of the investigation of sexual abuse into the French Catholic Church, and that the Pope also felt gratitude for the courage it's shown in denouncing what they had been through. As Emin also says, the Pope had hoped the Church of France could embark on a path of redemption in the wake of the investigation. A French clergy have sexually abused more than 200,000 children, as we've been reporting, over the past 70 years. The authors of the investigation, accused the Catholic Church of turning a blind eye for too long. And good news for three scientists. Japanese-born Americans Yukuro Manabe, German Klaus Hasselmann, and Italian Giorgio Parisi. All three won the 2021 Nobel Prize for Physics today for work that helps understand complex physical systems such as Earth's changing climate. And a decision hailed by the UN Weather Agency as a sign of consensus forming around man-made global warming, one half of the 10 million Swedish crown prize will go in equal parts to Manabe, who's 90 years old, 89-year-old Hasselman, and for modeling Earth's climate and reliably predicting global warming. The other half goes to Parisi for discovering, in the early 1980s, hidden rules behind seemingly random movements and swirls in gases or liquids, which can also be applied to aspects of neuroscience, machine learning, and starling flight formations.
The Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences has today decided to award the 2021 Nobel Prize in Physics for groundbreaking contributions to our understanding of complex physical systems. One half of the prize is awarded jointly to Shukuro Manabe and Klaus Hasselmann for the physical modeling of Earth's climate, quantifying variability and reliably predicting global warming. The other half goes to Giorgio Parisi for the discovery of the interplay of disorder and fluctuations in physical systems from atomic to planetary scales.
We're in Afghanistan now, where the Taliban is still continuing to get used to the new governments that it has formed. The Taliban government says it's issuing passports to citizens again today. According to a senior official, following months of delays that happened, attempts by those trying to flee the country after they took control in August. Now, the process, which was slowed even before the Islamist militants returned to power following the withdrawal of U.S. forces, will provide applicants with documents physically identical to those issued by the previous government. Alam Gol Haqqani, who's acting head of the passport office, says that between 5,000 and 6,000 passports were to be issued each day, with women being employed to process those meant for female citizens, as no male employee has the right to perform a biometric or other passport work on a woman. Residents of Kabul say that the passport office say they're relieved that it's opened again so that family members can get the proper documentation that they need to travel abroad to receive medical treatment. The Taliban also says 25,000 applicants have reached the final stage of payment for their passports, with roughly 100,000 applications at the earlier stages of the process pending. Are still watching The World Today, still ahead. What it's like celebrating a national holiday in China. Oh, you love the displays. Stay with us. Welcome back to The World Today. Britain's Prime Minister Boris Johnson has put the country's supply chain disruption down to pressures from global growth. He said so in an interview marking his party's annual conference earlier today. The Prime Minister said he was confident British businesses had the expertise and skill to work around disruption to supply chains. And with few companies and supermarkets warning that a shortage of drivers is hitting deliveries, the government said it would temporarily reverse its immigration rules and give 5,000 visas for EU drivers to operate in Britain. It said 300 of those could arrive immediately to drive oil tankers.
Rather than government stepping in to mend and patch and mend every bit of our supply chains, what you've got is, in this country, fantastic expertise, fantastic skill in logistics. You listen to some of the supermarkets; they will manage this. We will help with visas and on all the rest of it. We'll help with all the supplementary labour that is requested. But in the end, this is a problem of global growth. It is one of the features of the meat processing industry that animals are slaughtered. So what I'm telling you is that we're moving to a new approach, and I do not want to go back to what I think is a tired, old, failed approach, which people voted against twice, in 2016 and in 2019, because they didn't. Because, and I tell you, when the some of the people who have been writing to me may be worried about this, but I'm not worried about this because actually I think it would be good for their businesses to invest in.
We'll have more now on the outages from Facebook yesterday, which affected not just Facebook, the social media networking sites, but also Instagram and WhatsApp. Services were down for almost 6 hours. Many of us had difficulty trying to get on the social media networking sites. Businesses around the world complained they lost a lot of money. Zuckerberg himself is thought to have lost at least $6 billion from his personal fortune at one point as Facebook shares plummeted. The outage was a second blow because it came just a day after the social media giant, a whistleblower, accused the company of repeatedly prioritizing profit over clamping down on hate speech and misinformation. We do reckon that many people had lots of anxiety yesterday, not being able to refresh or post stuff on social media. We've established millions of dollars were lost online already. Most importantly, the world lost contact with families. Patients were cut off from doctors and governments were unable to communicate with citizens while discussions are ongoing about preventing this from happening again. Let's talk about the impact the anxiety may have had on our emotional well-being. Clinical psychologist with the Department of Psychiatry, Lagos University Teaching Hospital, Julie Otto, joins me now on the program. Julie, thank you for joining me on The World today. Well, you know, people had lots of anxiety. They had a lot to even be anxious about yesterday. But do you think the anxiety was more about the addiction to social media than the work that needed to be done on social media?
Good evening, Amarachi. Yeah, like you had said, there were a lot of anxiety. Social media is an addiction for lots of people, lots of individuals. Some persons are addicted to social media because of, in Africa, we've had this communal relationship. But in the recent times, due to the emergence of social media, others have things to everything, they go to get their validation from social media. So their head is they're already rewired that, oh, everything I do is centered on social media. So they tend to have those cravings, continuous cravings to always go in to search what is happening there, what do I need to post, how do I need to let people know I'm still on, I'm still available. So it's not just about the anxiety, it's because of the addiction they've had over the years and the derivation, like that's why I said, the brain is already rewired, so that's what they get, the euphoria, the excitement that they get. So in the last 6 hours when the social media were down, so they were unable to get all those, so it became, some began to have panic attacks, some having insomnia and all that.
Then how do we, balance, the emotional and mental health in situations like this, where, some of us have to work on social media. So, we're anxious about, the loss of work, loss of time, that's ongoing. And then, of course, there's lots of resources also due to the downtime on these social media platforms. How do we stay sane, when these things happen?
Okay, there's a balance in mental health that says one day at a time. When we have life, when our mental health is stable, we will be able to do lots of things. So when I'm down, look at options, explore other options that you'll be able to use to, especially for those in business, because business is genuine. So look out for other options and first and foremost relax, because if you're mentally stable, you'll be able to function. If you're not mentally stable, your functionality will be affected. So it's important to relax first. Look at, oh, what do I do next before you dive into action, so that you don't get into a situation where you become moody, or some persons begin to self-harm themselves. Other mental health issues may arise from that anxiety. So it's important when there is a crisis or when there is a downfall like this on social media, especially for those who are heavy users, just calm down. And for those who are using it genuinely, because some persons are not using it genuinely because social media has its advantages and disadvantages. For those who are using it for businesses, calm down. Because when you're mentally stable, you can function in your business.
Julie, thanks again for reminding us that it is important to stop and smell the roses. Thanks again for joining us on The World today. The European Medicines Agency says it will consider whether to launch a rolling review of Merck's experimental COVID-19 pill, according to its head of vaccine strategy. And that experimental antiviral pill developed by Merck and Co. could have half the chances of dying or being hospitalized for those most at risk of contracting severe COVID-19. There's more in the global update.
The European Medicines Agency says it will consider in the coming days whether to launch a rolling review of Merck's experimental COVID-19 pill. Interim data shows the drug, which will be the first oral antiviral medication for COVID-19 if it gets regulatory approval, could halve the chances of dying or being hospitalized for people most at risk of contracting severe COVID-19.
There are some top-line results that have been communicated by the company, and what I can say is that indeed we will be considering whether starting a rolling review for this compound in the next days. And of course, the idea is to understand if the data will support such rolling review and whether we could come up in a timely manner with an opinion with the use of this product.
Meanwhile, Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison says the country will buy 300,000 courses of the pill.
But there are 300,000 courses of this antiviral course of pills, and what it means is that it seriously reduces the chances of you getting severe symptoms if you actually get COVID. But don't forget, you reduce your chance of ending up in an ICU from the vaccine by almost 90%. I think it's 86%. So vaccine first. But these treatments means that we're going to be able to live with the virus. So even in the unfortunate situation, if you do contract the virus, then we'll have the treatments to ensure that we can lessen these symptoms, reduce the chance of you ending up on ICU, which can put pressure on the hospital systems.
In other developments, Russia has reported 895 new COVID-19 deaths, the most recorded in a single day since the pandemic began. The country also recorded 25,110 new coronavirus cases in the last 24 hours. The Kremlin has implored people to get vaccinated against COVID-19, calling it the only way to stop the virus's spread. Authorities are also considering reintroducing health restrictions.
We're ending the program now. Tourism planners in several cities across China rolled out special events for the evenings, including a light display dragon boat performance, the night market, pop-up art fair, and distinctive cultural events to entertain people during the 7-day National Day holiday, which ends on Thursday. Look at that. A performance featuring a 720-meter-long gold dragon made by 101 rafts with lights took place on the Yulong River on Sunday in the county of Guilin in China. The event attracted a number of photographers and local residents to watch the performance and the fireworks. That's the world today. Thanks for watching. I'm Amarachi Ubani.